there were allegations that
Yeah.
people were not paid.
Yeah.
So can we please unpack
Yeah.
that?
No, let me unpack that for you.
And that's why we are sitting here. We're not defensive. We say, siyavuma.
Oguti.
We did not pay on time.
It's not about are we going to be taking action against Sunday World. We are saying to Sunday World that we have always been here. We'll come to the doorstep at Sunday World in order to tell our story. We have got nothing to hide.
So next time, call
We
us.
have an issue. It's the series of articles that came out, and not only from Sunday World, but also from other news outlets. There was no right of reply.
How many artists in this country have been broken by the media? And then when you have organizations like Saga who come out and say that they want to represent the lives of actors when they're actually killing their jobs.
You trained it
Yeah.
because of something you said at the SAFTAs or something.
You have people who have faked IDs, people who have faked signatures because we have processes.
Welcome to Sunday World Engage. My name is Mbale Zuma, and I'm back again for yet another exciting episode. Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Today we have two important guests, and they are very well known in the entertainment industry. And they are known for producing Pound for Pound, which is currently playing in New York and is #1 on the charts. And then they also were responsible for producing Losing Lerado and Tando, which are just some of the productions that they've been a part of. So today we will unpack a lot of things from the challenges that they faced and how they see the entertainment industry as actors and as people who have been behind the scenes. So I believe you guys are the owners of Bakwena Productions.
Yes.
So I just want to know, how did you guys come up with the idea to form your own production company?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, obviously, working in the industry for a very long time, you find yourself in a point where you need to grow, and where you would want to tell the stories your own way, in an authentic way, and creating stories that are going to be educational, but yet entertaining. Stories that people would be able to refer to, especially when they talk about a certain subject, subject matter in life. And we decided to come together and we're like, all right, let's do our own thing, let's grow and let's make magic, and let's tell our stories, not just only for South Africa, but, for the global market as well, and actually show off what South Africa is about, and the talent that is in this country.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think it was also to drive change in the industry. I think for the longest time our industry has been seen sort of like a school bag thing. You get a bunch of creatives selling ideas, walking around, which was a huge misperception because it's actually a professional industry. And then we actually got into it to say that, let's put in some corporate policies into this industry that can better set up and create sort of like a platform where people can build careers, people can grow, we can get black business up and running. We can actually get a black business that's in this industry that's going to do well and make it to the top, instead of being dependent on the other ones that have been there for 40 years that are telling our black stories. We wanted a black company to tell a black story. And that was part and parcel of the motivation of saying that let's start something that's 100% black owned and let's take it to the top.
Okay. And then for you, were you already working behind the scenes, like for another company before you formed Bakwena Productions?
Yes. I was in the banking sector for a lot of years.
Yes.
Yeah, I was in the banking sector. So the nice thing about it is I was in a banking center. I headed up a couple of departments through our local banks. And I got to get an understanding about how different cultures work. You know, the best place in South Africa to actually learn how corporate works is actually the banks because of the rigorous processes they have in place, the type of strategies they input, and they all have one thing in common amongst all our local banks, and that's profit gain. So one could actually come up with initiatives that actually generate revenue instead of coming with initiatives that sort of might work, might not work, you know. So every time before you start something, you know it's revenue generating. But yeah, I was in the banks, yeah, for the longest time. But funny enough, before that I was in entertainment.
Yeah.
What led me to the banks is that I found it tough in entertainment.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for Kagiso, for me personally, I grew up watching you on Scandal.
You make me sound old, yeah. But it's cool. Yeah, I am old. I'm old.
Yes. So for me, I fell in love with journalism by watching Scandal, and
Yeah.
I saw your growth on Scandal and everything.
Yeah.
Why the sudden U-turn wanting to go behind the camera?
It's growth, man. You know, funny. I was having a conversation with one of the marketing people at ETV, and I was like, you know, I'm like the perfect example of what ETV has done in the industry. You know, starting off as an actor, coming in as a director. You know, I direct House of Zita. I'm the head director there, and now moving into producing. That for me, I am so thankful for ETV, and they've really invested in me, so going behind the scenes to answer your question is there's gotta be growth. You have to get into a space where you're not just the actor, but you're also getting into directing, and you're able to manipulate the story so that it is authentic to the people that we are telling stories to. Come into producing, where you're getting into a space where you are changing the game, in how the treatment of actors and crew, how you can influence change, because we've been running with this industry basically on just the same idea, for all these years. What change can we bring into this space? And that's why I moved from, well, I haven't moved. They keep dragging me back in. But that's why I'm an all-rounder. Yeah.
Do you believe like it's important for other fellow actors to, diversify themselves? Because there's a lot of people coming and crying, saying the industry is cruel, there's no money, and all of that. I recently had an interview with Mamnandi.
Yeah.
And we on the outside think, oh, there's money there.
Yeah.
But then also people, the public, is like, why are all these actors coming out and saying we are suffering and all of that? Why are they not having a backup plan?
I would really advise that. When you get into the industry, you need to understand it holistically. And that's the biggest mistake that we do. I would really advise everyone who's in the industry, whether you're cast, your crew, your director or producer, or even a channel, understand the industry holistically. In that way, you'd be able to kind of look at yourself and say, oh, this is where I can grow. This is where I'm making mistakes. This is where I can actually leverage off to become better and not fall into the same trap that we find a lot of people in. I always say, Kere, a lot of actors get into the game and they get stuck in the euphoria of the fame and not understanding that it's a contract. And especially, Guma long form. It's a contract, it ends at the end of 12 months. And so when you've been there, like I was on Scandal for like 13 years, I got so comfortable because for me, it was like, oh, I'm a contract, I'm a contract. But when it comes to an end, I've also seen actors leave a production so bitter because they didn't anticipate that this was going to happen. I have seen crew members leave shows so bitter because they were just too comfortable. So I would advise that people school themselves about how things function in this game in order for them to be able to sustain themselves for a very long time. And I think I've done that very well. Yeah.
Okay. Because both of you are male,
Yeah.
so this has come up a couple of times, you
Yeah.
know, that now when you go to auditions,
Yeah.
you're asked how many followers do you have.
Yeah.
They look at your looks, whether you have a BBL, whatever, all of that. Actors are complaining, especially the older generation, that
Yeah.
now influencers are coming to take their jobs.
Yeah.
And when you say people don't school themselves about the industry, you're right, because I see people are hungry to just be famous.
Yeah.
And when you get that little amount of money, you think
Yeah.
you have it all. And you maintain a lifestyle that you can't afford.
Not even that. I was on TV for 13, what, for 4 seconds. My first time I was on TV. And I was doing a lemon twist ad. And all I did was, "Ngivela kanje," and I was smiling. And that was it. But I was famous. Right? And it was about how I take that fame and turn it into money. It goes back to what Rashaka is always saying, is business. You have to take yourself as a business. And when you're a business, you can't find yourself complaining about the change in the industry that you're in. You know, we may fight about numbers, we may fight about social media numbers, BBLs, and all that stuff. But if you understand the business holistically, then you'll understand why that is happening. You know, we've moved from just having your SABC 1, 2, and 3, and that's it. You know, TV that we're not paying for, but we've moved into your Netflixes. We've moved into, your Showmax. Understand how Showmax works. It works based on how many people go and watch that thing, how many people download that thing. So, you have to get people that will have numbers in terms of marketing it. It's not about their look. It's not about their BBL. You find, I like that lady, "Hi, I'm Zandine Klapo, and I'm your housekeeper." Where's the BBL there? You know what I mean? But she's taken herself as a brand and she's selling herself. And, she's very attractive towards channels and shows.
But then what happens if I'm an actor, right? I'm good at my craft, but I just don't like social media. But you, as a casting director, you know I'm good for this job.
Yeah, I think let me jump into that. Let me jump into that because
You're good.
yeah,
But you're gonna ask me about followers.
No, not necessarily.
no, not necessarily. So that's what I'm saying is that the first thing, maybe let's talk about our ethos.
Yeah.
In terms of how we target
Your
characters,
company, yes.
our company,
Okay,
our company.
yes.
The first
Let's
thing
not
is
speak
performance.
for
Remember,
others.
yeah. So the others we wouldn't know. Yes, we would know that. First of all, in our industry, there's a thing called a coverage report. It's a scoring to say that the concept that you have come up with, will it sell or won't it sell? And that's what a coverage report. But there's a lever there that does talk to performance, but at the second time, it talks to story, strength and quality, and it talks to audience appeal. You get a rating. Based on your story and the characters that you're going to use, are you going to score high on audience appeal? So I might be I'll give you an example. Zikon, who was in one of our movies. She doesn't do your million. She hardly even, at the time we met her, she was not even doing 50K. But she had performed alongside a top performer like Tusombedu, who easily was doing 2-3 million. But they performed, but she's a strong performer. And for the role that we had now for Tan, the lead role, we wanted somebody who, one, could understand story. Why are we telling the story? What is our target reach? What we were trying to communicate, and can perform well. And that's when we chose Uzikona Bali. We chose Uzikona Bali not because we were looking for BBLs or anything like that. We knew she was a strong performer. She was the only one who was going to be able to carry our story. If we had chosen somebody with a BBL to come and tell that story, it wouldn't be number one today.
Yeah.
So this coverage report, what I'm trying to say is that this coverage report encompasses things. It's not about going to choose them. You can have somebody with 10 million followers. And relatively, if your story is that solid and it's that strong, and that person can hardly even remember lines, can hardly even catch story, doesn't even know where to and where from while we're shooting, it's dead. You don't have
flat.
It's going to fall flat.
Yeah.
It's going to fall flat. Yes, if you can get a package or somebody with those numbers and they can perform, great. And they can perform great. But we also must understand that there are people who did not come into this industry because they want to become popular. They came into this industry because it was a passion and it's a profession. Yeah. They are there to do a professional job. And that's what we look for first. Are you in this to become famous, or are you in this to do a good job? So, and we'd always look at that. We can get somebody, yes, who's in it for the profession, knows how to market themselves, has got a great team behind them. Yeah. That's a package. That's somebody who understands their profession, that in order to get through certain places, I need to empower myself. And by empowering myself, I need a professional team behind us. And that's what we look for. Who's the team behind you? What's your performance? What's your track record? Have we seen you perform? Can we go and meet you? We just don't give you a call and say, do you think you can pull this thing off quickly because we saw your numbers on Instagram?
No, it doesn't work like that.
And if you look at the lineup of all our shows, especially our leads, it is very rare. I mean, we'll take Losing Lerato. Our lead was Kagiso. On Losing Lerato, I think he had 7,000.
I believe
followers on Instagram.
7.
Yes, at the time we did.
And that movie movie wonders.
He was the lead.
You make the decision. You know what I mean? So yeah. I mean, I think what just also to kind of add to what Rash is saying is that as a company we have a mandate amongst ourselves where we look for new talent, we go for current talent, and we revive old talent. Do you know what I mean? You speak of the likes of Mam Thembi Nyandeni, where we went and we like, okay, it's not like a revival of a career, but we haven't seen her on screen for a very long time. Yeah. Let's go and get her. You look at Losing Lerato, where we fetched a Hector Abutapi, who last time we saw him on TV was with Mazwi Pau, And so that's part of the values that we use in terms of casting in our films.
Yeah, and if you get, yes, there are those that are actually strong performers and have numbers. Losing Lerato too, Nefisa. Nefisa Mkabe. Yes, the pretty girl, she's got big numbers,
but she's a performer.
She's a performer.
You can't go wrong.
She has worked on a brand. We're talking about a girl who's 20 years old, 21 years old. At the time, she worked on a brand. In those years, she worked on a brand. She came in, she's a performer. She came and she killed that role. And that's what we're looking for. We're looking for young talent. We're looking for somebody who can perform. And we're looking for somebody who can take us to number one. Your BBLs are not going to take us to number one.
No.
Unfortunately, in this space. And I like what you say about the
BBL.
The summer soup.
Started off like, I was like,
there's the summer soup.
Where is this thing going? You know what I mean? But, when you talk about gender, and Rash will also tell you, it's also part of our mandate. The last show that we did, it was 80% female.
Most of in fact, all our shows were driven by females.
We're driven by females. We make sure that we put females in strategic positions, and positions where it's not a norm to find them in. That's the change that we are trying to bring into the game.
In Goma, the technical team, camera operators, was an all-female team.
It was an all-female team for Ingoma.
It was an all-female team, right down to focus pullers. The technical team was an all-female team that put together the DOP, camera operator, the focus pullers. It was an all-female team. So, and not because we were trying to prove a point that women can do it. No, they're the best in the game. Yeah. They're the best in the game. So when it comes to us, we're not in this thing because, first and foremost, both me and girls are family men. So this thing of going to clubbing and seeing us sipping and what, you're not going to find that.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that.
No.
Both of us work because we've got families to feed. You got families to feed. So you're
So
not
we're not in a
going-
space to see PBLs.
Yeah, never mind even that.
That's what you're trying to say, right?
Never mind even that. That's why I was also taken aback. I was like, hey, when you said, or
No, no,
I said,
no.
no. I was like,
You want him
But
up
just
to pay.
for you guys as a company, because it's your company, there are, when I was talking about males, I was generalizing. It's okay, you know. But then there are instances where there have been actors complaining about sexual harassment on sets and whatnot. So as a company, how do you guys make sure that none of that happens?
So we have systems in place. I, I was also, a member of an organization called Swift in the industry. And before a production would start, I would then go in and talk about sexual harassment, and being aware of what sexual harassment is, because we work in such a very casual industry that some people didn't understand that what they were saying or what they were doing or what were they thinking was actually sexual harassment. And that's what we implement in our company as well, where we have those conversations before the show starts. But we do not just have these conversations so that it's for males or for females, because in everything that we've done and in the shows that we've gone to, we've actually found men who experienced sexual harassment. You know what I mean? So we don't go there and make it a male bashing session or a female bashing session. It's a employer, employee, creatives who have come together and to create magic, but be aware.
and I think to add on, as a company, we talk a lot about ethos. We've got an ethos in the company. And when you talk about ethos, we talk values. What are the values that this company is built on, and the people that work with us? What are the themes that center around it? First is humanity. First talk about for humanity. You must understand we're in this job for both. So if you are coming here because you are self-centered and you are on your own mission, wrong place. It will be drilled onto you. Secondly, it's professionalism. This is a workplace. It's not a place yamonati. Yes, we want people to have fun, want it to be enjoyable at work, but you have to be a professional first. If you breach any code of conduct while on set, management will take you to task. We will follow all relevant employee relations and all codes of conduct in order to ensure we follow the steps. And if you're found guilty, you're out. This is not the place. The third one comes, which is the winning mentality, which is our final one. Everybody that comes into our thing has to have a winning mentality.
Yeah.
We are working to be number one. What that means, it involves dedication, time, and we've got to be on top of our game, which becomes the innovation factor that kicks in. We drill that into people that come into our organization to say that when you work for Bakwena Productions, this is the culture you're coming into. If you're coming here because you think you're going to boss somebody, you're going to do this, you're going to get your wings and flowers, you're coming here with ill intentions or not, you're not at the wrong place. You're at the wrong place, actually. You're at the wrong place. So our culture is incentivized by those pillars, and we drill it wherever we go. Anything that's the process that we have in place. Anything that goes wrong, we are human at the end of the day, and mistakes do happen, faults do happen. They're dealt with. We have processes in place that deal with those things, and we motivate and we ask people to utilize those systems that we have in place. But those 5 pillars, if you've missed them, and one of them does not resonate with you, please don't come into our door. You're at the wrong place.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I just want to ask Kagiso, so as someone who's, been in the industry acting for a long time, we see the movies that you guys have produced, everything, and they're successful. And you guys mentioned that you want to tell stories that resonate with Black people,
Yeah.
right? There seems to be a trend that sex sells on TV.
Yeah.
Do you think that's the case?
With us or generally?
Generally in the entertainment space.
Because I'm trying to imagine, has anybody ever kissed on any of our shows?
No.
We don't even, yeah.
No.
If you watch all our movies, a kiss. No.
I mean, and we don't do it intentionally. You know what I mean? If a kiss is required, hey, it's a kiss, you know. Mwah. But we're not going to go and do like what you see now on TV where it's raunchy and it's humping and it's, thrusting, explicit stuff. And that's why, Rashid said, or we family man. And you will see that with all our launches, we've got our families there. When we are at shoots, we actually, if we're shooting away, we travel with family. You know what I mean? So we want to create something that our children are also able to watch, something that our children are also able to learn. I mean, you look at Tando, where we had an abortion scene, and we were very cautious in how we're doing that. We are creating stories that will create conversations. There's no film that we've done that has never created conversations. If you're talking about co-parenting, you look at Boluzin Lerato and the effects of it. You look at Tando that talks about bullying at school, teenage suicide, which is still a big pandemic that nobody is willing to take care of. You look at Ingoma, which is about a boy child, because then the boy child is neglected now. You look at Pound for Pound, where it's a beautiful story about the strength of a woman, and a woman in this country goes through a lot of adversities. And what we've tried to say is, instead of focusing on the misery of it, let's create something that's going to show that you can come out of it as a woman. Because Khuliswe abo mama, who are very strong, who also went through a lot of adversities, and they've raised good men. Yeah.
Okay, before we get to the question I want to get to,
Yeah.
I just want to know, so when you guys started your company, you used your own money or you got some funding?
We've always used our own money.
Always used our own money.
From day one till now.
Ninemali mos. Ama-actors ayikho imali lena nithatha.
And that's the thing.
You know what it was? You know what it was? That's what I'm saying is when you are in a corporate, I think every time we think of this industry, we want to seclude it as if it is not a business. This industry is a business. It's big business. When you are in a business, you set up systems in place. One of those are financial systems. When you make profit, profit is not for gain. Profit is for sustainability. What are you doing in essence with that profit in order to generate revenue? And that's when you start. You make money out of the first project, you generate revenue, you use that money to get into the second project. You use that money to get into the third project. You have a 5-year goal or a 10-year plan, however you want to structure your corporate. You use that and you actually become an employee of your own company. You become an employee of your own company. You pay yourself salary so you can at least keep the lights on. But the profit is not there for gain.
No.
It's not there for gain. It's for sustainability. And that's what we've been doing. We've been using money from our other projects in order to fund the next project. Hopefully that when we start gearing our ratios and getting into our 5-year plan, by then we can be able to share dividends. But at this point, we're not that sustainable enough where we can even share profits because the money has to work. So now when we get to that point and we have our 5-year plan and we have our meeting and we structured ourselves, then we come in and then we say, okay, we've done well, here's this, here's maybe revenue share, here's maybe you can buy shares into a thing, do you want to, there's lots. As a corporate structure, there's many opportunities, there's revenue models that we come to. We've got recovery models, we've got business plans, we've got impact analysis on cash flows. As to even the cash flows that we use, how do you manage your cash flows in order to project yourself to get to a point where you've got a gearing company that can literally stand on the ground? Not like if you're gonna, and I'm not saying other production houses, we've never knocked the door on other production houses to see how they do things.
Yeah.
But if you are going to cry that you did a movie in 2018, and ever since that movie is 2025, nobody has given you work. Think when in 2018 what you did with the money.
Yeah. I mean, how do you
Start there.
contribute to this
You know
situation?
what you did with the money, and then in 2025 you want to blame the industry. No. The industry is. There's one thing about this industry that's actually a fact that actually only separates it. Nothing is guaranteed.
Yeah.
This is the one industry.
It's a gamble.
Nothing is
It's
guaranteed.
a gamble.
You're better be driving a train, and then one day they say that there's no more railways, and then you say no, there's no work. You're better off there. This one there is no.
Basically,
guarantee.
it's almost like the soccer industry because one injury, you're out.
Yeah, but it's how you plan, looking at the risks and how you mitigate those risks. You know what I mean? And not just, it's the same thing with us, even as producers. Sometimes you're not going to be able to find work. So we put ourselves strategically in a position where we create the work. You know what I mean? And not going and looking for work. And that's some of the things that we learned earlier on as an actor, to say that, you always wait for your agent to call you. You always wait for an audition. That's not going to help you in this industry. You have to create your own work so that you are able to then be in control of what your career path is going to be. And Rashad said, we're not abantu basematlapini. And that's a conscious decision that we made a very long time ago, because you found that a lot of people who were in the game, we were told, you need to be seen, you need to be out there, you need to be mingling. And we realized that's costing a lot of money because it's a different outfit. And gulama event wa mahala, you're only just getting wine. You know what I mean? And I'm not a wine guy. Let's just go stay home, man, and create these things. And to go back to what you say, yes, when we started, we made huge sacrifices. And that's no secret. But after making those sacrifices, when the profit came in, we didn't jump in and went to go buy izinto so we can be flashy. But we maintained our lifestyle. Yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, we maintained our lifestyle, and yeah, that's it.
Okay. So, recently.
Yeah.
Let me not say recently, because recently could mean a lot of things. But towards the end of last year, you guys did a pound for pound, which was on, is it BET, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then, there were allegations that people were not paid.
Yeah.
So can we please unpack that? Is it true?
Yeah. No, let me unpack that for you. Let me unpack that for you. No, I think here's what's not true. People were paid.
Yeah.
What is true is that people were paid
Late.
That is true. So what happened with pound for pound is that, yes, just like anything else, we had reached sort of like a wobble in the business while shooting the show, and then we were not in a position to pay cast and crew on time. Then we obviously went and we raised the capital in order to ensure that everybody gets paid. At the same time, we had to respect our contractual obligations with our partner, which was BET. Subsequent to that, payments were done 28th of December, and we were sorted. The allegation that from our side that then comes is that we at the point when everybody went to the papers is that we had staff members now that had breached contracts. They started by coming out and discussing contractual issues out in the public. And they were supported by the media. They were supported by the media fueled that, and in that, the media then, in reparation or in terms of whatever concept they had, which was probably to sell stories, damaged our name. So, and that's not an allegation, that now became a fact. Because our reputation was damaged, and subsequent to that, we struggled to get work. So we had to cease operations. So while at the same time we're trying to raise capital in order to ensure that everybody gets paid at the same time, we were not even in a concrete position to do that because our doors were closed. So that was the ripple effect of that. That's from a professional basis, is that the allegations or the rumors did not bode well for the company and they damaged the company. But subsequent to that, we rose above the challenge and we paid everybody by the 28th of December.
So when did you close? You mentioned something about closing operations.
It was a pause.
On September.
You know what I mean?
So
Oh, okay.
September 1.
Yeah, it was a pause for
Yeah,
us.
September 1, we wrapped August 12th. September 1, we're supposed to make payments. We failed to make payments on September 1. It hardly days later, probably about 3 or 4 days later, the first article came out. Ironically enough, it was from Sunday World. That first came out that pound for pound failed, and bear in mind that we're supposed to go live on 4 October nationally on BET. Fortunately enough, the show was never impacted. It was delivered in full, and in order to do those deliverables, there has to be money that has to be paid. So it is not as if the show was done for free. We spent a lot of money. We overcapitalized ourselves, and which led to a delay in payment because we were trying to put together a show, a winning show, a number one show, which eventually it was. It was a number one show. It came out, played itself out. It was successful. We got rave reviews from majority of the public, and people took advantage of that. The minute they saw the show come out and its success, then they went on sort of a smear campaign. That's an allegation from our side. Not
Why do
necessarily
you think there's a smear campaign?
Well, when somebody is disgruntled, they look at different mechanisms in order to sabotage the process, in maybe thinking that it will fast track whatever ambition they need. And in this time, it's payment. So everybody forgot what the bigger picture was. We lost focus. That's including ourselves. Because now we are no longer focusing on the success of the show while it's airing.
We're focusing
We are
on-
focused on making sure that people get paid because it's all over the media. So you could say that we sort of buckled to media pressure, which was unnecessary because what it basically did was kill a black business. But nonetheless, we had individuals that defamed our character, personal and business. One in particular, the person who instigated this whole thing and started these rebel groups, was one in Brandon Oret and Kaya Charlie. They teamed up. And it is disappointing that even when they started reporting cases to the media, there was no investigations done by any media house. There was no thoroughness, there was no effectiveness in getting two sides of the story. They went. So somebody would tell you a story at 10 a.m., you would then threaten us with WhatsApps that if you don't respond by 1 p.m., I'm going live with the story. 1:05, the story is out. So there was no integrity in everything that happened, and it spiraled.
So if I may come in, because I saw a series of those articles, right? So in all those articles, do you feel like you were given the right of reply?
No. So let me.
So yeah, I think I want to test that because it's the series of articles that came out, and not only from Sunday World but also from other news outlets. There was no right of reply, and a right of reply does not mean I must respond at your time. If I am doing something, I'm occupied otherwise, and I'm not in your time frame of an hour or two, you've got to give me an effective right of response. That means you need to also give me a time. If you don't respond after 24 hours or whatever the case is, and you have exhausted all means to get hold of me, that is a right of reply. Not because you know that, no, if I don't, because it's me and Kagiso, let me not call Rashaka, let me try and call. You're starting to wage against who can I get hold of and the like. And then you don't get hold of us, and then at BET, okay, I'm going to go and contact BET, but if I don't get hold of the CEO, it's not going to satisfy me. We're not media or sort of journalism is not about guns for hire. You're not out there to shoot the messenger.
No.
That is not the case. You're out there to put integrity in how you do your work. You have to give everybody fair chance. You have to give everybody a fair chance to tell their side of the story. So you have two sides of the story and you tell your story. So now that did not happen at all. In the series and I'm talking about seasoned journalists. I even mentioned the name Tinas for a reason. He did not even call us once. Brandon Oret went on, threatened our families. He did not even bother to call. Brandon Oret has been a struggling actor for 7 years. You come and you say that he has lost his house because of us after working for 12 calls. So it's a situation where you don't get both sides. You damaged a black business. You damaged a black business. And it's sometimes sort of say, you don't want to blame media, but that was the case. That was the case because you listen to one side. Somebody is desperate to pay rent in 4 days. You are going to push a narrative. You're going to push that narrative for whatever cause or reason that you have.
I think,
irrespective of where that person is coming from. And I think it's essential to send out that message to say that, yes, Bakwena Productions was wrong. We're not supposed to pay late. We're supposed to pay on time. And that has that we apologize for.
yeah,
How late were you with the payments?
3 months. 3 months.
And you explained to
Yeah.
the cast and crew.
So here's where I jump in to say that we were not running away. We did not keep quiet. We communicated, but because of the irresponsible journalism that was now happening, where whenever we communicated with our crew and cast internally, formally so, it was leaked out. And in whatever it is that we were said, it would be taken and twisted in order to put our name in bad light. And so we found ourselves where we were sitting and we say, some of those people who are pushing this agenda have worked for major companies who haven't paid them till today. And it's been years that they haven't received their payment. And we don't understand when we, just for 3 months, are now hammered so much. And we continue to see the irresponsible journalism that happens now where people were paid 4 months ago. We are sitting here today and we find that journalists, Sunday World, is still reporting about non-payment of people.
Even when the show is done.
We've
Never
paid.
mind only non-payment of people. I mean, we've got to refer back because the article last week was that came out from Sunday World was grossly erroneous. We have a journalist from Sunday World who reports an old story, who then goes ahead and paints us as bad payers, not even checking what our history is. We have processed successfully 7,964 invoices at our disposal. We have employed 4,551 people in the past 18 months. In the past 18 months, all of which have been paid. Now, they don't go and find that fact, and you come and you say this person is a bad payer. We've paid in 3 months. We have got production houses that have sat for 30, 40 years that till today have been in the papers for non-payment till today. Till today. You then go and pick up a rumor that we might be in a relationship with the SABC.
I was about to get to that.
You get to that and you say, and you go ahead and you say, this is a done deal. One, you have no factual evidence of that being a done deal. But nonetheless, the one thing that even if you had to go and inquire properly, like any other production house, yes, we've pitched for a show. We've pitched for a show, and yes, we have been shortlisted. But now, given your thing, when you come there and you say that Why is a national broadcaster or a public broadcaster obtaining the services of a bad payer? To what test? What proof do you have that
That we are bad payers.
that we're bad payers? Where it is, show it. We now have to report at certain committees about evidence that has never been tested in public at all. Not a single time. You go and you put that. Now,
Very
you don't
irresponsible.
even know that even through a verification process, are you saying that because of whatever lead that you have, your point is to smear? And that's when the thing is, because what if we don't get that show?
Yeah.
Because of what you have said.
Yeah. How many jobs are you affecting?
How many jobs are you
How
affecting?
many families are you affecting? Because sometimes
Are you going to report on it?
as-
Because we're
as
going to tell you the
journalists-
story. We have the evidence of saying this is what you have made. Are you going to publish? Sorry, Sandoval published an article and 4,500 people are unemployed because of that article.
Yeah.
Because
You're
of
not.
error. You're not going to do that.
You're not going to do that.
And you are jeopardizing relationships as much as we are a business, even future income. If we give you our projections and our probabilities for the next 15 years, and we've been gearing on track for the past 7 years, we have not faltered 1 year. If you go and look at our projections as to what our contribution is going to be here, what our vision 2030 is for this business, and we come and we put it to this is what you have done
Yeah.
by erroneously reporting.
How many
incorrect
jobs we
information.
would have created by 2030? Because that's
You
our
did not
mission.
even call us. You don't even call. You called everybody.
So we can literally say that.
I mean,
Yes, which I win. But I'm just saying, which it is.
I'm just giving an example of saying that it's a.
I felt like you guys were attacking me.
No, because you are wearing that shirt. You know, the shirt is
It's
a
my job.
representation, and I get it, because and that's the thing, because Nami, when I wear Bakwena gear, I wear it with pride and whatever comes with it. And that's why we are sitting here. We're not defensive. We say siyavuma.
Oguti.
We did not pay on time. But we paid. And even in that process of us making those payments, let us not take away which there are certain people who are sitting there claiming to be unsatisfied in certain stuff of their payments. But you have to go through the necessary processes to say why. Because when we were under this pressure, a lot of people also saw an opportunity. Yoguti, then they can come with ubutlev, where they were submitting extra invoices. You know, where people were saying, you worked as a camera operator, you worked for 21 days. How are you submitting an invoice for 5 weeks? Do you get what I'm saying? Now, that rumor will continue to say, you haven't paid me because you submitted, but you submitted the wrong invoice. Do you see what I'm saying? So now, a journalist who's reckless will continue to take that story and not even advise that person to say, but why don't you go through the necessary processes? There's CCMA. This country is governed by labor laws. Put us under. Send your lawyers. Send us letters of demand so that we can hash it out. Those people are not sending those things because they are aware of ubutsotsi babo ababuzamayo. You're looking at extras agencies who we had 150 extras on set, right? Now you are sitting there and you are expected to pay a bill of over 1,000 extras on set. How so? You have people who have faked IDs, right? People who have faked signatures because we have processes, you know, the sign-on sheets. And you look at a sign-on sheet and you say, but this signature is the same as this signature. You call this person and you want to find out which do they know anything about a show, and they say, so now, are we supposed to melt under media pressure and then pay because siyasaba? We can't. We have to do our due diligence and pay.
So you mentioned the IDs and signatures.
Nobody's talking about that. The journalist is not talking about that.
Did you identify those?
We have. And criminal
dealt with.
criminal
No, we're dealing with it
proceedings
as we speak.
are in place, right? Because
While they are wailing in the media, we are following correct processes to deal with them.
do you see what I'm saying?
And that's a disadvantage Because once a story is written, however reckless it sticks for public perception in a public court. Whereas we have processes in this country where we're in a democracy, where we have to understand each other with the journalist that wrote this article, is that what are you saying? Are you saying that the courts must move to your pen and we must move out of the courts? Or are you willing to wait for processes to take place before you put pen and report on due diligence that was done? Where's the integrity?
Yeah.
Is this about you selling the newspaper, or is it about the right thing being done?
I think, Rash,
and if that's
it's about
torture,
a deadline.
it's
I think it's so unfair when it comes to media because it's about a deadline. And some of the calls that we've received from media, it was about, I need to have the story out tomorrow or now at 2. Hold on. That's why then you go ahead and you make these mistakes. Yeah. That's why you have this misinformation, because you are in a rush to write a story. Then you find that the publication...
They are in a rush to break the story.
Yeah, to break the story, which is fine.
They have to break the story.
But you can't give me
you put it well
a timeline where you think, I'm not fetching kids from school, so I must pause, have my children wait there so that I can give you and meet your deadline. Do you see what I'm saying? And then that's why you go and you report the wrong things. And when you find companies like ourselves, where we follow protocol and procedures, because this is not, I think we need to make people aware that this is not a company trap and loss. It's a company. That's why, we've been running this thing for over 20 years. We've been business partners from varsity days. And that's why you have the strength of the corporate structures in Rashaka. That's why you have the strength in creative structures from me. Do you see what I'm saying? That's why you have a legal team that deals with all these things and those contracts. Now, as a publication to come out, maybe you think in J, but we have a legal team that will deal with it.
So you'll be taking action against us?
Well, we're having a conversation with you now.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm just saying.
No, we're not saying that.
I think it's not about...
but we are just saying, be aware.
It's not about... I think it's not about are we going to be taking action against Sunday World. I think by us bringing ourselves here, we are saying to Sunday World that we have always been here, to a point that even when called, we'll come to the doorstep at Sunday World in order to tell our story. We have got nothing to hide.
So next time, call
we
us.
have an issue when somebody goes about...
Don't go and jump at things.
When somebody goes about publishing without getting the other side of the story. We're availing ourselves to think. And yes, we will take legal recommendation on what has taken place, because we are not running away that the journalist that printed the article last week did defame our character and jeopardized. There was reputational damage, and we are going to seek recourse. We can only do that on legal advice, of which we are going to obtain it. Because
so you haven't communicated with the journalist as the stories went out, to say, but this is our side of the story.
We are trying to regroup, we are trying to rebuild, we are trying to, and we keep having these shots coming from all over the show. And I think we are also coming out to say, hold on, pause. This is not sensationalism. This is people's livelihoods. And we're not talking about our livelihoods. We're talking about the plans that we have. You are killing a black man from getting work for the next 30, 20 years. If God usasbegile, we have a plan where we're saying this is where we want to be at 2030. It's not just about you. It's not about that article that you're going to be paid for and how many words you get paid for. Do you get what I'm saying? It's more to it. We need to start becoming responsible as black media as well. Because you don't see this, and that's why we're saying, Gucci, you don't see these articles ebalungwini, where there's major companies who have defrauded people, not just in our industry, But you don't see these articles. Tina, the first thing that we do is we go and we break somebody. How many artists in this country have been broken by the media? Those tears are not going to fall in jail. And then when you have organizations like Saga who come out and say that they want to represent the lives of actors when they're actually killing their jobs.
How?
How so? By coming out and saying that Bakwena Productions hasn't paid their actors 4 months later. I think we were okay when they were saying, before we made the payments, sharp, we get it. But we started Saga. And I say that boldly because I was one of the founding members of Saga. Bakwena Productions is the first and only production that has paid royalties to crew and actors. Why didn't they take that story when we were doing it back then and use it as part of their campaign to change this industry? They kept quiet. They waited for us to make a mistake. And yes, we did. But we've never gotten a call to say, guys, you were part of us. You were part of the guys who were fighting this thing. Why is it you this time? So that we can explain ourselves. We didn't. Instead, what they did is that they in their friendship with the actor, and I say that boldly because I'm aware of it, to take side like Rashaka and run with it because then it will push our agenda. But you're doing it recklessly so. I asked Saga, who are you really representing? Because once those actors who were paid got paid, they never went back to Saga to say, hey, we got paid. Maybe thank you for putting the pressure. They didn't. They walked away. A portion of their salary, even if it was 0.1%, to contribute towards this organization that claims to be fighting for the rights of the actors. They didn't do that. Who are we representing as Saga? And now, 4 months later, you don't have the information. You still come out on social media and you say, production houses like Bakwena Productions. And Bakwena Productions is at the tip of your tongue. Excuse us for taking this personal because your white colleagues and your white friends who own big companies in this game still haven't paid people for the past 3 years, 4 years. Why are you not talking about them?
Who are those?
And how do you then, as Saga, come out and say?
Yeah, I don't think it's for us to.
It's not for us to say.
To bash.
But why are people not talking about it then? If you can talk about if you haven't been paid for 2 months and there are people who haven't been paid for years.
No, it's well reported.
It's well reported.
It's well reported. Hence, I'm saying with general sensationalism, people ride on a wave. Our production is recent, pound for pound. It was on the tip of everybody's tongue. It was doing well. What is the use of talking about a production 2-3 years back that could not even finish a season? So where are you going to target? The very same people that you're saying that you're fighting for, you've got the stuff. Maybe those actors that you are saying that, no, we are fighting for actors' rights. Maybe one of them that you're talking about was going to have an opportunity on one of our shows, where they were going to get the full benefits. There's no actor who can come that has worked for Bakwena Productions and say they were not appropriately paid. Because I can guarantee you right now, when we negotiate contracts with actors, we have never negotiated lower fees. We've said, how much do you charge? And the business ends there. You name your price and you work with us. While you're working with us, what is required to make sure that you're in a good space? Because if you understand the industry, you know that we work under tumultuous conditions. What is it that you need? Do you need to be picked up at home? Do you have issues? Do you have a car issue? Is there a situation where with the baby? How can we work around with the call sheets to ensure that you are at work on time? And we give that service. We give that service. This is not just for cast, including crew. So there's nobody who can leave a set and say they were not treated well. There's nobody who can do that. Right down to catering. We even check what is being cooked. We choose the menus ourselves because we don't want people to be thrown with funny things. So
it's so evident. Sorry, Rash. It's so evident in such a way that if we are this bad production house that's not taking care of crew and cast, Why is it that when we've now made the payments, people still want to work for Bakwena? And we're not talking about desperate people. You have like where someone's like, hey, No, we are talking about people who are working, who are top class in the industry, right? Who've just worked with us and they're working on another show. They're like, hey, dude, when is the next one? When is the next one? That should be evidence that the kind of treatment that we have for our cast and our crew is quality. Don't come out as Saga and ride on a wave just for yourself. You have to ask yourself as Saga, you've been there for 20 years. What have you done for the actors in this country? Because we can sit and have a track record and say, this is what we've done for actors in this country. This is how we've taken care of veterans and legends. We will go to the extra mile, Kagiso, to actually go to a legend's house and rebuild it. We've done that. We didn't go out and make noise. Do you see what I'm saying? To make sure that their living conditions are fine. We've gone to hospitals. We've gone everywhere because that's who we are. We are driven by Ubuntu. Where they've worked for big companies for all those years, and most of our legends have died as paupers. One of the things that we are still working on right now is how do we go and erect tombstones for our fallen actors? Saga didn't think of that. Right now, recently, we've had legends and actors who would come out and say, I'm struggling. Not even once has Saga come out to say, guys, here's a campaign, let's go and collect food, let's go and collect this. They haven't. What Saga does is that they wait for something to go wrong and they ride on it in the name of we care about our actors. You don't. And the reason why you haven't succeeded in changing the lives of actors in this country for 20 years is because you've always been all talk. We did it. We stopped talking. That's why I pulled out.
It's Saga, it's SABC, it's PMA.
You know what I mean? We stopped talking. We
For
came
someone
out.
who doesn't know.
Guning.
It's
South African Guild of Actors.
It's unregulated agencies that have been formed to come operate under a structure where they can do as they please and not be held accountable. So you've got SAGA, South African Guild of Actors. You've got SABC, South African Background Association of something, and then you've got PMA, which is the Professional Management of Actors. Of artists somewhere, which has got there's that organization that all the agencies fall under PMA, all the actors under SAGA, and then all the background actors under SABC, but all unregulated. And you've got them now coming, we're saying that do not wage a war. Do not wage a war, especially with producers, because at the same time, we are the ones who are creating work for the very organizations that you represent. Yeah. And if you think by alienating us and trying to sabotage us, you will then sort of benefit out of it, it's not going to work. We are also professional companies. You guys want to come in as professional companies or institutions of interest for a better societal change within our industry.
You're welcome.
Let's go to a round table
and sit.
Let's go talk
and solve.
How we can solve issues that are dealing.
Not bash.
But not bash.
Let's not bash each other.
Let's not use the national broadcaster, which is the SABC, especially as SABC and SAGA, in order to drive your agendas or narratives. That is not the platform. If you want to drive your agenda and narratives, it's an industry-wide. Get the industry players all together in one platform and we can referendum the issues and we can rebuild. But you're not going to do it by sensationalizing stories in the media and by trying to question how other businesses are operating when you have not even stepped in front of their door. And this is an example as when you ask the national broadcaster, how do you hire an organization like Bakwena Productions? You have never set foot inside Bakwena Productions. You don't know how it operates, Bakwena Productions is not here to bash you as an institution. We have never walked on your doors. So can we please keep it separate? And if you have any dispute that you have, we can lodge it in a court of law. But as things stand, please, let us not be opportunists. Don't be opportunists and try and go and drive self-driven agendas, because what you're doing is killing. If there was a situation where the SABC had hired Bakwena Productions, by your loose statement as to how, because you don't even know how Bakwena Productions works, you could have easily have cost 2,000 people in this industry a job, because you want to drive a narrative, which we are still not too sure
What
it
your
is.
narrative is.
What your narrative is. Do not think for yourselves. Think about what you're doing. The national broadcaster has got nothing to do. SABC has got nothing to do with what's going on with Bakwena Productions. Absolutely nothing. And we've got to put that out there. If whatever rumors or allegations that you hear,
Whatever channel,
whatever platform
whatever
that you
platform
hear,
has nothing to
leave
do
the
with
SABC
Bakwena.
alone. If you have an
No, we're
issue
saying leave any
with Bakwena,
platform.
you can call us.
Call us and
You
deal
can
with
call
it
us
accordingly.
and we can deal with it accordingly.
And you can
we
deal
will
with
go
us
to
accordingly
the very same
if
platform
you need to.
and we will tackle each other there. But we're not going to play coward and go and attack other organizations that have nothing to do with whatever agenda you have. And even then, we are still saying, what is your agenda with Bakwena? Because
personal.
we don't know.
It's truly personal, but we're good. We're good.
I personally don't know. But I just want to ask, how long has Bakwena Productions been operating?
This, funny enough, officially, it's been operating for more than, but this year officially is our 10th year anniversary.
Yeah.
Okay, in those 10
2015.
years, is this the first time you're experiencing these types of challenges?
It's the first time it's the first time we're getting an attack from media sensationalism. I don't want to say from media, because I can tell you one thing for sure, the media has been very good to us all those years.
Yeah.
They have promoted all our projects. We have worked very well with the media over the years, and we contribute our success to especially the media hype that we always get, print and TV.
They like us, man.
So it has always been good. This is the first time where we have individual journalists driving an agenda.
Who
against
we've
us,
never met.
by the way.
So you say you've never met this journalist, right?
Yeah.
But you've established
Maybe at a
that
function.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you've established that this journalist has a relationship.
With whomever is driving an
Yes.
agenda.
No, I don't want to use the word established.
Allegedly.
A narrative.
A narrative,
is
yes.
growing. A narrative is growing and it's clear. A narrative is growing, and we can only attribute it to a series of articles. The timing of articles. Recently, we had the City Press publish an article about us last week Sunday.
Very nice article.
Last week Sunday. And they talked about the story of Bakwena Productions, where we come from, what we have done over the years, and it became a celebratory article about our contribution to the industry. It then, a day later, the same journalist repeats an article that they wrote a week before. Just changed agencies now. Just changed the agency, Saga. The same journalist.
Same journalist.
So we are pleading not only to that journalist who's written a series of these articles, to other journalists. We're not saying you must not write
to us.
about us or lenient to us.
But how
Fair
can
game.
we
Call
how
us.
can I put it? How can we improve the relationship between, production houses and the media? Because let me make an example. Let's say you have an issue
Yeah.
with an actor or a certain actor, and it's not the other way around.
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
Firstly, we need to understand contractual obligations. I like this example that you've made, because you say if there's a difference between I and the actor, or Bakwena and the actor. Yini esihlanganisayo. If it's contract based, there are clauses in the contracts that will assist me in dealing with that actor. And my contract is between me and the actor. It's not between me and the media. So I don't need to have a relationship with the media to deal with an actor. The same way, the vice versa, that there are clauses in a contract that the actor or the crew member has rights within the contracts to deal with me, not with the media. Do you see what I'm saying? So I don't know how to answer your question in terms of the relationship that we need to have. But I'll say that in any organization, in order for people to build a relationship, kufana nentombi, umuyishela, kumele uhlale nayo phansi. You have to find a moment and sit and have conversations. So I can understand what you want from me and what I want from you. Do you get what I'm saying? So if there's something that the media needs from us, the media needs to call us in as production houses to say, this is how, or this is what we want, and this is the relationship that we'd like to build with you. That's it.
And whose responsibility is to...
It's the media, because in media,
it's not
no.
It's not a responsibility. No, but let's get from a professional perspective. There's a term because the media.
But I was going with the example that you made.
Yeah.
To me and the
it's a
actor,
procession. It's not a responsibility. Yeah, but let's get it
Yes,
right.
I mean nothing in that. But
No, not in that. I'm saying that the media, you have a responsibility to report on fairness, relevant, and integrity.
As per the press
That's
yes.
as yes. And if that all has failed, the media is still not the last options. Whatever the courts say is final. It's final.
Yeah.
So we have to get to that level. And if it means we working together with the media in order to socialize and conscientize that fact, that is something we would let come to your doorstep all the time as to how can we publicize how employee relations work in our industry.
Yeah.
And that is something that is urgent. We'll be the first to admit it is non-existent. It's lacking. But let's have that collaboration to think.
The same way with these organizations. Instead of coming and bashing, come in and work hand in hand with producers. Do you see what I'm saying? Because we deal with platforms that we are able to then manipulate or negotiate in contracts that we have that, maybe actors need to kind of have this right and not that right. Do you know what I mean? But if you are coming after us, how do I go and sit and have a conversation with somebody who's fighting with me? Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah. How do I go and represent you? Because I'm the one who has close contact with platforms. How do I go and represent you? That's all I'm saying. So you're not helping. In fact, you're creating this big bridge, this big gap. You know what I mean? It's us versus them, which is something that as an actor, I know that we've always been fighting for. Us and them. It must be us as creatives.
Okay. What about the people that are labeled as the what do you call them? Drama queens or the divas on set? Have you guys dealt with that type of behavior?
Oh man, everything, and that's what I like. There's always contracts. And contracts guide you. So we always ask ourselves, what is a diva? Is a diva somebody who gets there late? You know what I mean? Then there's ways in how to deal with that. Is a diva somebody who throws? You can't just throw your toys. It always goes back to the contract. You can't walk off set. It goes back to the contract. So maybe we can say we've never had divas because we've really made actors so comfortable in working in our environment in such a way that even the people who are called divas, and that's another thing that we have to put out there. There are many people who have been written off and they were called divas. And as Bakwena Productions, we didn't go and take hearsay
And blacklist them.
and blacklist them. We actually said, no, hold on, let's call you. Yo, you good, man? Sharp. I hear you're a diva. What's going on? What happened between you and that person and that person? No, this is what happened. And you find that when those people, and we've had, when they come to our set, they are so at peace because we got to understand them first.
Yeah.
We didn't make it about us.
What are some of the ridiculous things you've seen in actors' riders?
Avian water. I don't do still. I don't do Valpre. I do Avian. If you don't have Avian, it's not for
Then
me.
you must go and find it.
In terms of the food, the diet. This is my diet. This is how I want my stuff to be cooked.
Yeah.
Logistics. This is how I travel. You can see that my car that I've parked in my garage is at this standard.
So I need this standard?
I need this standard to come and.
If we
Where
agree,
does all this money come from? Why isn't the government helping you guys?
They can't help. It's a private, industry.
business.
It's not a.
But can't you get
It's a
like
private business.
what do you call them? Like if you're trying to start a business as a young person, what
I'll tell you something, and I'll answer this one. Ever since I've been in this industry, actors have even struggled to get home loans or vehicle finance because of how corporate has always seen this industry, right? Because of
It's erratic, it's
yeah,
unstable.
it's unstable. You know what I mean? What Rash said, it's unstable. So we understood that, and that's why we've kept on going. Where we said, "All right, we can't determine our success based on someone else's yes or no." If a government agency comes in and supports us, fantastic. You know, if a department supports us, fantastic. But we're not going to sit here as a black business and feel sorry for ourselves and say, yo, imali engaka, hayi kwenze njani. The same way as when the situation happened, we could have easily run to a government department or agency and prove how much work we've created and plead our case, right? But you know, you do that and you put it out. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, you can't cry foul and say, now, Minister, you did not support me, I created work. We went out there and we made sure that we do right and pay people, and we have. So we can't singane njani thina eshaywa njalo noma seyilungisile. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
We can't, and we won't accept that as well. To always to get this whipping when we have fixed things. We got a whipping when we hadn't fixed things, and we took it because we are a business, and we took responsibility for it. We did not come out and say things that were or become defensive. We apologize, and we continue to apologize. Even today, we say to our cast and our crew who have worked tirelessly to make this thing happen, who have put in a lot of effort, who shared their gifts with us, their talents with us. We apologize, and it was so unfortunate that on this 6th one, things went wrong. We hope to continue and build a team, especially with people that we know that we are all riding together with this thing. We are all in it for the same mentality, because when you struggle, we also struggle. When you were going through your kids being kicked out of school, we were going through the same things. When you went through not being able to pay rent or bond, we also went through that. But we will take it and apologize from the bottom of our hearts. But sicela ukuthi singashawa when we have done right. We fixed it. We paid. And if there's any other disputes, yes, we are a family. Disputes will always be there. We are open to sitting and having conversations. But we cannot continue to have unfair and unrealistic conversations because we have the fear or the threat that you will go to the media and keep repeating the same story and say that we haven't paid you. We can't. Let's go through systems now. Let's go through CCMA. Let's go through the legal system of this country. And whoever comes out as sharp or sharp. But we can't see go because Sunday world is routine. We can't. Sorry, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, Miss.
Nami, on behalf of Sunday World, I would like to apologize. It's not my place. I'm not the editor.
Yeah.
I don't make those decisions. But from what we've been speaking about, I can see that this really affected you guys.
Yeah.
And yeah, like building trust
Yeah.
is a
Line, yeah.
Yeah.
it's not an easy thing,
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you guys were able to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And Mina, I'm sorry, but if it were me, first article I would have shouted and said, yes, as kokile, but
Yeah.
you guys just chose to keep quiet.
Have to. But I really appreciate what you've just said.
Yeah.
I genuinely appreciate what you've said. You don't know how far it goes.
Yeah.
Especially with the things that we've gone through behind the scenes.
Yes, because there was an incident where you trended
Yeah.
because of something you said at the SAFTAs or something about
Yeah.
your production company being the best, whatever,
Yeah.
treating actors, and people didn't take that well because of
What was happening.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But it's no lie. You know what I said, and even in the depression, there's a lot of depression that a lot of people go through in this industry, and some of them even unnecessarily so. There are people who have been written off because of reckless journalism. But to go back and tell you how far your apology goes, we went through a lot behind the scenes. We became a laughingstock. Our families were attacked. People would send inkabi to our houses, and nobody talks about that. We've had to move our children to safety. And for me, I want to make you understand that apology from Sunday World, how far it goes. And we take it and we say apology accepted. It's always best to understand the damage being gaganani, so that even when you guys are apologizing, it's not to fix or to tick a box, but to understand how far this went.
Just to use ChatGPT and say, I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? so I want to make you understand the depth of it.
No, I understand. Yes.
Now we're good.
Yeah, no, I think also, just as Bakwena Productions, we also need to say this, and we need to put out that statement. The SABC was brought into this mess. We need to say that every individual involved in bringing the SABC into this mess, that was reckless. It was reckless. It was self-interest. It was erroneous. You did not do your research properly. You reported on an industry norm that's one that does not exist. You questioned the behavior of a long-standing organization over many years that has been at the helm and at the top of this industry for years. And you have no right to question their processes. You have a right to question anything that's of public interest, but if it's of public interest, you have to test it thoroughly. You do not recklessly go and make public statements to address an agenda. You have to get your facts right. You have to test it in all the remedies that we have in this country. And can they please not do that again? We don't want our relationship even if we don't have a relationship with with SABC, we don't want a situation where when we are trying, we want to be part of the SABC at some point in our lives. We work our industry to ensure that we get onto a platform like that simply because it attracts the most viewerships, and that's where every South African proudly wants to be, at the SABC. If you want to go and attack somebody, attack us. We will challenge you on the necessary platforms, but do not use the SABC to address your issues. Drive your own narrative. Don't be a coward. Come to us. We will then take it on head to head and we'll deal with the issues. But do not bring third parties into a conversation that you know nothing about.
All right, I think we should close it there, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come speak to us. I know, I'm sure it must have been hard.
Yeah.
To come. No, that was the easy part.
Oh.
To go through the process.
During the series Bible over the past 6 months, that was
yeah.
To come here will always be
always been ready.
The easy part. If we're not knocking on your doors, we request that you please open up the doors for us. But whenever you need us to come in, best believe we're available.
All right. Thank you again for tuning in into a very insightful episode of Sunday World Engage. Let's hope to see you on the next one. And if you have any suggestions of who you would like for us to bring, you can comment on the comment section, and see you next time on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.